Hello, in this video I want to talk about the games that the emotional abuser can play during the divorce process and something you can do that will help you move it along. Hello, my name's Elizabeth Goddard from the Divorce Sanctuary, and on this channel I talk about healing from emotional abuse and divorcing emotionally and physically from the emotional abuser. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back and thank you. And thank you so much to all my new subscribers over the last few weeks. It's just been absolutely mind-blowing. Really thank you for your support. So in this video, I want to talk about the games, or what the games they play, and just one technique today on how to counteract that. It's the power of a deadline. It's the negotiation. Escaping a narcissist or an emotionally abusive relationship is difficult enough. You're battling with your emotions. What you believed was true and what you're now finding out is a lie. You get trapped and you're wondering if you had done something differently, or you'd said something differently, or you hadn't behaved in a certain way, whether you'd be in this place. And when you start to get your life back together, you start to break some of the trauma bonds, you're faced with divorce. And as you start to detangle from them, if you haven't divorced from them emotionally, this process can feel like you're going through everything again. The nightmares, the trauma, and it has all been designed to trigger you for their amusement and try and take control of the process. They play games, and one thing that has been coming up a lot recently is deadlines and the cost, and now they are failing to reply or submit paperwork. This then causes stress and anxiety, and I'm going to address that in Thursday's video. You got no closure, so you are just left hanging, and you might still be trying to find the answers. You might still be trying to understand what happened. If you haven't divorced from them emotionally, you might still be trying to make sense of the feeling of overwhelm and trying to balance your emotions. And there still might be part of you that would be willing to accept them back. Trauma bonding is horrific and it keeps you trapped. These people are masters of manipulation. You believe what they were telling you. They reminded you constantly how amazing you were. They told you how you were meant to be together. And they told you that no one else ever understood them in the way that you did. They will always play the victim. This video is not about using the tools that they used on you. I would never advise that. It simply does not work. And you will get hurt even more than you have been. Over the last month, the conversation has been about the process being held up, costing people time and money and energy. I have a few personal stories about this, and setting a deadline works. You need something really strong to work with though. When I've divorced my first husband, I had a meeting one day with my solicitor, and he announced when I walked through the door that it was a whole year to that day since we'd heard any or had any correspondence from my ex, or soon to be ex at that point. And at this point, I want to remind you that your legal team work for you. They have a duty of care towards you. You are a paying client. And even the legal team on the opposing side have a duty of care towards you as well. They have to make sure what's happening is being proposed is fair. But this is a negotiation process, and they will play mind games. If you're emotionally fit and divorced from the abuser, then you can't get trapped back in that trauma bond. At the moment, there seem to be a lot of people saying a very similar thing, that they're stuck, that they can't get their ex to reply or respond. And it's costing them time and money and energy. So on that day that I walked into my solicitor's office and sat down, he was totally amused actually by the situation. And he was, I don't know whether he was still in training or it was his first year out. And I was just looking for an end. And I looked at him and I said, okay, so we're going to write to him and we're going to give him an ultimatum. He responds by a certain date or we go to court. This did work, and he instructed a solicitor, and the rest of the process was completed in about 5 months. It also happened again in my second divorce. This time I'd agreed to let him pay. I do not recommend this. It was done on the agreement that of his term, and that it would all be done very quickly. They started to put deadlines in place, and I always responded within the time frame. I contacted them to find out what was happening a few months later, as it had gone quiet. And the first time I was told that the money hadn't been forwarded to them, so that they were unable to file the paperwork in court. The second time, again, I've been told that the paperwork hadn't been applied for. It was a different set of paperwork this time. So I explained at that point that they had until the end of the month, which was June. Originally, I was given until January, the 5th of January, to respond, which I did. So here we are 5 months, 6 months later. So I said to them, if they don't respond or it hadn't been applied for by the end of the month, then I was going to set up my own application to the court and I would be divorcing on my terms. And again, this happened. Everything went through. What we want you to remember is this isn't manipulation. This is negotiation. This is your life. You need to claim it back. And while they continue to play their silly games, they use these and other techniques to gain power and control over you. Make sure before you start this process that you are ready to negotiate, and check what you have that you're able to negotiate with. Make sure that you've got your list and you know what you want and you're not going to move on, what you're willing to negotiate on, and that the areas that you're willing to let them have. As part of their games, they really don't care how much it's going to cost you financially, mentally, emotionally, and any other area of your life. You need to have things that you can allow them to win with. It might be a tea set that your Aunt Doris gave you, or a picture that you bought. It might be an additional hour visitation with the children. But you need to be very clear what it is. This, like everything else, is a game, and you don't have the rules. You didn't have them in the relationship. Why do you think anything would be any different now? Remember, they are masters of manipulation. They play the victim. When they'd taken everything from you, they just disappeared out of your life and they left you to pick up the pieces, tidying up their mess, and then they come back for round 2, the divorce. So when it comes to the divorce, you need to be very clear. Divorce them emotionally, breaking the trauma bonds. Put yourself first over everything. If you spot the games or the things that don't add up, question them. And if they are playing games, by not responding or missing dates, start to put conditions in place. But remember, as you would with a child, only do it if you really mean it. If you said to your child, come and eat your dinner, or I want you in by a certain time, and they don't, and you say to them again, if you don't do this, I'm taking away phone, TV, or games, and they still don't do it, and you don't do it, that child knows that your threat is empty, and they won't change, will they? And it's exactly the same with them. Remember, you are dealing with a child dressed as an adult. They need to win. Even if it's a teeny tiny win, it is a win to them. And remember, if you're using a solicitor or an attorney, they have a duty of care towards you. When I said to my solicitor, if he doesn't respond by a certain date, then tell him that we're going to court, his response was, but that's going to cost thousands. And I had to weigh that up. Where would I find that money to do that? But as I look back, I was spending that money on the solicitor writing letters and not getting a response. And that not getting a response was actually equivalent to us attending court twice. And I might be slightly exaggerating because I would have had to pay for additional fees for various different things. But it was, I would have, in that year that he was being written to and he wasn't answering the letters, I'm fairly sure there was enough there to cover the court. Remember, emotionally healthy people will want to make sure this is fairly concluded, that you have closure. They won't be playing games. I'll put a link to my workbook, Broken is Your Superpower. Have a look at the back of it and start to list all the things that you have, that you want out of this divorce, the things that you're prepared to negotiate on, and the things that you've got that you're prepared to allow them to have. This is a negotiation, and they will do everything to manipulate you. They know what buttons to push. You were a project to them. They've stored all that information, and they're going to bring it out one last time for their amusement. Hope you found this useful. If you'd like to find out about working with me, I'll put the links below to my website, to both my books, Finding Lily and The A to Z of Emotional Abuse, my soon to be released 3 Things You Shouldn't Do, Divorcing a Narcissist. Please don't forget to like and share the video, and I'm sending you loads and loads and loads of love.